while animal cell doesn't have cell wall. So there is no shrinkage in us, while there is shrinkage and contraction of the content of the cell away from the cell wall, and this phenomenon is known as plasmolysis. So in activity 5.6 they have made us understand about plasmolysis. What does cell wall do? Cell wall permits the cell of plant, fungus and bacteria to withstand very dilute, that is hypotonic external media without bursting. So it permits the entry and the exit of hypotonic solutions. The cell tends to take up water by osmosis. The cells swell, building up pressure against the cell wall. The wall exerts an equal pressure against the swollen cell. Because of their wall, such cell can withstand much greater change in the surrounding medium than animal cell. The important part of the cell comes now, nucleus. So what's a nucleus? What is so special about nucleus? We all have brain, correct? And you can say that the nucleus is the brain of the cell. All the activities are controlled by nucleus. Mostly it is located in the center of the cell, not in the plant cell. In the plant cell the center is vacuole, which we will study later, but mostly the nucleus is in the center of the cell. So let's see what's nucleus about. The nucleus has a double layered covering called nuclear membrane. What is it? It has a double layered covering called nuclear membrane. The nuclear membrane has pores which allows the transfer of material from inside the nucleus to its outside, that is to the cytoplasm. Now if you want to divide a cell, you can divide in plasma membrane, that is the boundary of the cell. Then comes inside the cell comes cytoplasm, the liquid part of the cell, and then comes nucleus, the brain of the cell. So nucleus also has a double layered covering. It's called nuclear membrane, and the nuclear membrane has pores. It has pores. What does the pores of the nuclear membrane does? It allows the transfer of material from inside the nucleus to its outside. Now the nucleus contains chromosomes. What are chromosomes? Chromosomes contain information for inheritance of character from parents to next generation. So a cell on dividing, while it divides, a cell comes to know how the next cell should be. It sends the copy of its characters to another cell through chromosomes in the form of DNA. So the nucleus contains chromosomes. It has rod shaped structures, okay, and they are only visible when the cell is about to divide. So you can say that the chromosomes will be only visible when the cell is about to divide. The chromosomes contain information for inheritance of character from parents to next generation in the form of DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid molecules. Chromosomes are composed of two main things, DNA and the protein. The DNA has all the information regarding the cell from the parent to the next generation. DNA molecules contain the information necessary for constructing and organizing cell. Functional segment of DNA are called genes. Now in DNA also you will find some segments which are functional, that are called genes. In a cell which is not dividing, that means when a cell is not dividing itself, this DNA is present as a part of chromatin material. It is there but as a chromatin material. chromatin material is visible as entangled mass of thread-like structure. So you can easily identify a chromatin when there is no division of cell as they are entangled mass of thread-like structure. Whenever the cell is about to divide, the chromatin material get organized into chromosomes. So as soon as there is a stage of division uh, of a cell, the chromatin material gets organized into chromosomes. So the nucleus plays a central role in cellular reproduction, the process by which a single cell divides and forms two new cells. What is cellular reproduction? It is the process by which a single cell divides and forms two new cells. It also plays a crucial part along with the environment in determining the way the cell will develop and what form it will exhibit at maturity by directing the chemical activities of the cell. So there are two parts a nucleus plays. First, when it has to divide, it has to send all the information to the next coming cell. Also, it sends the information about how the cell will develop and what form it will exhibit at maturity. For example, ear cell should become ears should be present in the ear only, not in the eyes. So that way the cell has to be given proper information. In some organisms like bacteria, the nuclear region of the cell may be poorly defined. Now there are many organisms also present that does not have nuclear membrane or undefined nuclear membrane. Such undefined nuclear region containing only nucleic acid is called nucleoid. Now those organisms who has nucleoid in their cell are called prokaryotes. Means a cell lacking nuclear membrane are called prokaryotes, because prokaryotes is a word taken from primitive nucleus. Pro means primitive, nucleus. Organism with cell having nuclear membrane are called eukaryotes. So we are the organisms which are called eukaryotes. Our cell is well developed. It has a nucleus with a nuclear membrane, and there are certain unicellular organisms, bacteria and many other, which do not have well developed nuclear membranes. They are known as nucleoid. They have nucleoid instead of nucleus. They have nucleoid, and that is why they are called prokaryotes. Here you can see an example of prokaryote. Prokaryotic cell also lack most of the other cytoplasmic organelle. So not only it is devoid of nuclear membrane, but it also lacks most other cytoplasmic organelles. Many functions of such organelles are also performed by poorly organized part of cytoplasm. The chlorophyll in photosynthetic prokaryotic bacteria is associated with membranous vesicle, bag-like structure, but not with plastid. So normally we are going to study about plastid. In plastid you will see that there are two main types of plastid, and one contains chlorophyll, which is used for photosynthesis. But here, now the third important part we can see a cell has is cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is a large region of each cell enclosed by the cell membrane. Okay, it looks like a fluid content inside the plasma membrane. So just after the plasma membrane, the region with fluid is called plasma membrane, and it contains many specialized cell organelles. Each of these organelles perform a specific function of the cell. There are cell organelles also inside the cytoplasm, and these organelles perform basic functions by which a cell becomes living. Cell organelles are enclosed by membranes, a definite part that doesn't allow organelles to mix up with other organelles. In prokaryotes, that is in a well-developed cell, sorry, uh, in a cell with nucleoid. Beside the absence of defined nuclear region, the membrane-bound cell organelles are also absent. So the membrane-bound is absent. Cell organelles are enclosed by membranes, but in prokaryotes, that bound region is absent. Eukaryotic cells have nuclear membrane as well as membrane enclosed organelles. The modern cell, or you can say the well-developed cell, have nuclear membrane and membrane or enclosed organelles. The significance of membranes can be illustrated with the example of virus. Now let's take about virus. As we are going through the COVID-19 situations, you are now aware of virus, but what are virus? Virus lack any membrane. These are microorganisms which doesn't have membranes and hence do not show characteristic of life, and when they do not have proper environment, they lie just as a dead log, but when they enter a living body, they just multiply. So here you can see the difference of prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell. Now after the parts of the cell, we come to another point, cell organelles. This we are going to study in the next part, as this video would be very long enough. So the cell organelles will be taught in the next part, part 2. You will soon get your next part. Thank you, children.